In this video, we are going to be looking at slope, graphing lines, and writing equations. Just a quick refresher on some key terms that have to do with this. If we take a look here, slope, the slope of our line, we can count that on a graph. If we start up here, we go down 7 to the right 5. Our slope is -5. Remember, our slope is the change in the y over the change in the x, okay, or the change in the vertical direction over the change in the horizontal direction. Okay, if we have an increasing line, that's when we have positive slope. We're positive. We go from left to right. We have a decreasing line. That's when we go down from left to right. That's our negative slope. We have a horizontal line. We call that zero slope. And we can see we have this acronym, HOY. The zero in the middle stands for that zero here. And our vertical line, that has undefined slope, and again, that U in VUX, our abbreviation there, that corresponds to our undefined. When it's up and down, it's undefined. Okay. We also have some vocabulary here. The word parallel. Parallel lines, remember, mean that they don't touch. So if we see here, we have parallel lines, and they have the exact same slope. The slope of line A is 3. And the slope of line B is also 3. So they have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. Another pattern we have here is when lines are perpendicular. So perpendicular means the two lines touch and they make exactly a right angle. You don't need to worry about that too much here in Algebra 1, but what you want to look at is the slopes. So the slopes have to multiply to be -1. So the slope of line D has to multiply the slope of line C and give me -1. This means they are opposite reciprocal slopes. So if we look here, the slope of line C is 3. If we multiply that by the slope of line D, -1/3, that gives us -1. They are opposite reciprocal slopes. And if we look at the numbers, we have 3, and then we have -1/3. Positive 3, negative, and then here 3 is the same as 3 over 1. I switch it, and it becomes 1/3. Lastly, when we're trying to find the slope, and we're given points, okay? If you're given 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, we can use this formula over here, which you should memorize before your SOL. So m is equal to, or our slope is equal to, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's just a brief overview of all that we've talked about relating to slope and equations on graphs so far this year. So let's take a look at some examples. So in example 1, it says which number is the closest in value to the slope of line n. So we have our slope here, and the first thing we want to look at is it increasing or decreasing? And I notice here going from left to right, I'm going up, so I would say that it's increasing, which means it has to have a positive slope. So if I look at my answer choices, I know that it can't be C or D just because it's increasing. Okay, now I have to decide, is the slope 1/2 or is it 2? So let's remember that my slope is always up or down over, we want to go to the right. So we want to start on the left and pick a point. So I see here, this looks like a good point. See where it intersects the grid. And I see another point right here. Okay, so from here, I'm going up 1, 2. Okay, so that's my top number. And I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's my bottom number. But I don't have 2/4 here in my choices, but I do know that 2/4 simplifies to be 1/2. And that is my answer choice A. Okay. So if you get a bigger fraction and it's not your answer choice, you might want to simplify it and see if it's there. Okay. Okay. If we look at number 2, it says, what is the slope of the line through the points -6, 9, and 2, -3? So here we can actually use our Desmos graph to go ahead and figure that out. So I'm going to put in both of those points into my Desmos graph here. So I'm going to put the point -6, 9, close those parentheses, and the point 2, -3, close the parentheses. And then I'm going to click here, and I only see one of the points. If that happens, up there's the other one up here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, okay, just so I can see both points. You might have to play with it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to count. And remember, I always want to start on my left. So I'm going to start with this left point, and I'm going to count. I have to go down to get to the blue point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that means 12 is my top number because I went down 12. Now remember, I went down, so a -12. So I went down 12. I go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means 8 is my bottom number. Again, I look at 12 and 8, and I think I can divide them. So I can divide both of these by 4. So I get -3/2. And that is the slope between those 2 points. We're going to find the equation of a graphed line, okay? So for these, you're going to just type each equation into Desmos and see which one matches the graph. So when they give you equations, you can check which one matches the graph that you're given. Some special cases when you have horizontal lines, here's our acronym again, that H in HOI stands for horizontal, okay? That's when we have a y equals line. Okay, so we have that y equals 2 here. It's a horizontal line. Remember that O here means it has 0 slope. Okay, and for vertical lines, okay, remember that V in VUC stands for vertical. We have an x equals line. So here we have x equals -4. That vertical line is x equals -4, and that U stands for undefined, which we talked about before. So let's take a look at these examples. It says, which equation best represents line W? So here we have line W, and I want to see which one of these best represents it. So I'm going to take a look at line W and just notice some features about it. I'm going to look at I have like an x-intercept here. It's in between -1 and 2. My y-intercept is down here, 1, 2, 3. At -4. So I'm just noticing some things about the line so I can match it with one of these. I'm going to go to my Desmos and type in my first one that says y equals -8x minus 4. And I'm going to take a look at this one, and I notice it's kind of close. Okay, but I see here it touches exactly, that one hits there at -0.5 on the x-axis, and it looks like ours is between 1 and 2, -1 and -2. So I'm not quite sure that one's it. It looks a little bit off there, but it does have the y-intercept. It says -4. So let's try our next one, and you can keep these here or you can delete them. I can write y equals -8 divided by 3. Don't forget to arrow out x plus 4. And I look at that one, and that one's clearly going through on the other side here. I have an x-intercept of 1.5 and a y-intercept up here of +4. So the purple line's not going to be it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. I know it's definitely not that one. My next one says 8x plus 3y equals -12. And now I look here at this one, up -1/2, and down here at -4. So that one looks like it could be it. Let me just try my last one to make sure. 3x plus 8y equals -12. And that one again is clearly off, okay? So it looks like our black line here is going to be our correct answer, and that's answer choice C. So that one is our correct answer. You want to just try and match it up, and you can eliminate them as you go. Notice in Desmos too, it'll automatically give you different colors for the different lines. Example 4 says which equation represents the horizontal line, horizontal, okay, so it's going to look something like this, passing through -3, 1. So again, I can come up here and I can type points in. So whenever you get points, you can type them in and see where they would be. So I have -3, 1. Okay, I can see that's where that one is. And I want to see which of these lines goes through it. So you can try all of them and see which one works. Y equals -3. That line goes through here. It's horizontal, but it's not through my point there. Okay, so I know it has to be a y equals line. So let me try y equals 1. Oh, there it is. It goes right through. If you wanted to check, you could see that x equals won't work. X equals -3. It goes through it, but that's your vertical line. Okay, so we need to know the difference between horizontal would be flat and vertical is up and down. So our answer choice there is going to be y equals 1. That's my horizontal line. Now let's go ahead and flip our page over. And we're going to look at finding equations that matches the given slope and the point. So again, we can type our points into Desmos, type each of the equations into Desmos. We can count the slope for each line, and the line that has the correct slope and goes through the point is the correct answer. We can also find an equation that matches 2 points. So if we're given 2 points, we can type them both in, okay? Type each of the equations into Desmos, and the line that goes through both points is the correct answer. So again, let's look at some examples here. Number 5 says, what is an equation of a line that passes through the points 0, 1, and 6, -1? So I'm going to go back to Desmos, get rid of everything from my previous problem. Every problem you should be clearing out what was in there from before. Okay, so we're going to type in our 2 points. So we have parentheses, 0, 1, close the parentheses, and 6, -1. Okay, so we have our 2 points. Again, let's try and get them in sight. We're going to have 6, -1 right there. Okay, and we want to see which one of those lines goes through it. So I just type them all in. Y equals 5x minus 1. That one doesn't go through it. I'm going to get rid of them as I go. Then we have y equals -1/3 x. Oh, so we got to make sure that x is up top. -1/3 x plus 1. There we go. It goes through both points. So that is my correct answer. Answer choice B. Number 6 says, which is the equation for the line that passes through this point, 1/2, -2, and has a slope of 4? Okay, so look at my answer choices, and I can look at all of them and see this one has a slope of 4, this one has a slope of 4, this one actually has a slope of -4, so we can get rid of that one right away. And this one also has a slope of 4. So it has to be one of those 3 answers. So we're going to type our point in. Let's get rid of our last problem. I'm going to type my point in parentheses, 1/2. Remember to arrow out, comma, -2. Okay, and there's my point. And I want to see which one, A, B, or D, which one works. So y equals 4x minus 1/2. That one doesn't go through, so it can't be that one. Then I look at y equals 4x minus 3. Okay, that one doesn't go through. Since they all have 4x, I can keep that 4x there actually and just get rid of that part and add the -4. There we go. This line goes through that point. So now I can circle answer choice D. Okay. Our last section here, we're going to be looking at translating and moving lines around the coordinate plane. So we have some key words here. Half, okay? Half means we're splitting something in two. If we shift something, that means we're just moving it around. Steepness talks about if a line is flat or if it goes down more. Translated, you'll see, and twice means 2 times something. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So number 7 says let f of x equal to x. Okay, and remember f of x is the same as y. So this says y equals x. And it says the graph g of x is shown. So let's label that. That line is g of x. Okay. So it gives us a word bank, twice, half, 2 less than, and 2 more than. So we're going to need to fill in these blanks. Okay. So it says here the slope of g of x is blank. We're going to fill in one of these, the slope of f of x. So I have g of x here. Okay. It might be helpful if I graph f of x on here so I can compare them. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. And you can use Desmos to help you. So we can type in here y equals x. Okay. And that's what the line looked like. And you can copy that onto your paper. So I'm going to look at some points. I have 0, 0 here. This looks like this should be 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Here, this should be -1, -1. Okay, so we have some points there that can help us out. So I'm going to go ahead and plot some of those points to help create an f of x line. Okay, so this one here, there's my f of x. Okay, so f of x is there. So it says the slope of g of x. So if I look here, the slope, if I look here, I pick a point here and pick a point here. I go up 2 and over 1. So the slope of g of x is 2 over 1. And the slope of f of x, if I pick 2 points, is 1 over 1. So 2 over 1 compared to 1 over 1, that's going to be twice the slope of f of x. This one is 2 times the slope of that one. We're going to use the same idea when we're looking at y-intercepts. It says the y-intercept of g of x. Well, the y-intercept is right here at -2. Is blank the y-intercept of f of x. So the y-intercept of f of x is here at 0. So I look at my word bank, -2 is 2 less than. It's 2 less than 0, 0. And lastly, if we look at number 8, it says the graph of 3x minus 2 is translated up 5 units. What this means, translated up, means I'm taking this graph and shifting it up 5 units. What is the equation of the new graph? Okay, so let's take a look at what our old graph looks like. It says y equals 3x minus 2. So that's what my graph looks like. Okay, and now it's saying I'm shifting up 5 units. So whenever it says shifting up, we want to look at our y-intercept. Shifting up or down, that means my y-intercept is changing. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to shift up 5 units. So from -2, I'm going to count -2, -1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I land right there at 1, 2, 3. So the y-intercept was -2, and we can see that in our equation, -2, and it's going to change 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 3. So our equation should look like this. Y equals 3x, and now we're up here at 3. So plus 3. We moved up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you notice there, -2 plus 5 gave me 3. If I look at my multiple choice, there it is at multiple choice A. Okay, we've reached the end of our video here. Please go ahead and work on the practice problems that are in your packet.